Marketing operations is a recently coined term, and because this grouping of functions is new, there's lots of alternatives to a formal marketing operations team. Today, we're going to talk more about developers, specifically web developers, and their role as an alternative to a marketing operations team. Welcome to Leverage Your Spark. I'm Brandy Lawson. Web developers are incredible resources. They come up with fantastically innovative solutions. They can make your website perform valuable functions and solve big problems. They're wonderful assets to have on a team. However, they have a role, and in their role, they have specific problems they're really good at solving. Those problems are implementing functionality, how to make things secure, and how to connect the dots with your website. They're not so good at change or considering what happens beyond the web project or big picture thinking. The point of having a marketing operations team, as we've previously discussed, is to have a pit crew for your marketing race team. The pit crew is more than just a mechanic. It's people who are thinking strategically about the whole car and the driver and the racetrack and what needs to happen to have the relationship between those things be optimized for the race that we're running. In the case of a web developer, they're focused on the engine or the mechanics of what's happening. They're really good at that. Give them a specific problem to solve, and they're going to solve it 4 ways. It's an incredible experience to work on a project with a web developer and see through their eyes all the possibilities and solutions they can create. But if you ask them, what other systems do we need to consider for this campaign? Or ask them to think more outside of the mechanical problem they're trying to solve, you'll likely not get great answers and end up with a frustrated web developer. It's just not their zone of genius. If you have a very specific role of implementation or the right information being fed to a web developer, they can be a great part of your marketing operations team. But if you try to sit a web developer in the room with a CMO and a CEO and solve big problems or understand what platforms need to be used or future surf on how to get to the next revenue number, they're not the right resource for that. It's frustrating when things change because updating can be such a time suck. There's stuff to learn, plans to make, and then you have to do the work to move. Let's shortcut your move to Google Analytics 4. Grab the Efficient Marketer's Guide to Google Analytics 4 and get just what you need to know to easily move to this new platform. Download your free guide at getffx.com/GA4. So, how do you know if you're using your people in the right ways? Well, if you don't already have one, I highly recommend getting an accountability chart. This concept comes from the book Traction and is part of the entrepreneurial operating system. It's sort of like an organizational chart, but a bit different in that it focuses on the accountabilities of the roles instead of the name of the roles. In this case, it can be easier for you to identify the areas of responsibility or accountability inside your marketing team that probably belong in the realm of marketing operations, and then use that to match your current resources with the accountabilities. In fact, I like to get pretty granular with the accountabilities. Instead of trying to bunch them up into a specific role, my goal is to get them all laid out individually so we have everything listed and nothing is left out or assumed. Then put resource names next to the accountabilities instead of trying to aggregate them into a role because sometimes they just don't fit together. This allows the right resources to be matched with the right accountabilities, and then it becomes really clear where the gaps and holes are in the team. The payoff of not asking developers to do business strategy thinking is that they get to continue to use their mechanical genius in the place that is delivering the highest value for the organization. And we're not stressing them out by burdening them with demands beyond their zone of genius. It really isn't any surprise that there are so many alternatives to using a marketing operations team, because until recently, there was no such thing as marketing operations. In the next episode, we'll discuss using the IT department for marketing operations. Do your future self a favor and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. That way, all of this tasty knowledge will be waiting for you each week. Know someone else who should listen? You know what they say, sharing is caring. Subscribe and share at leverageyourspark.com.